Magalhaes to Stokes, who's onside. 1-0.
Here's Sims. It's a good serve this from Southampton. They could finish the job here. It's Shane Long, and he has done it. Just a minute to play. That's stoppage time. Here's Letizia. Oh, better to say farewell than one of the finest players ever to wear the red and white.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Saints FC podcast. My name's John Bailey.
I'm Tom Parker.
Hello, Tom.
Hi, John. How are you?
Yeah, well, you know what? I've had a weekend where I've seen lots of friends, drunk lots, eaten nice food, drunk nice beers. So, you know, that side of life is going okay, I suppose.
The bit you're in control of.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah. How about you, Tom?
Yeah,
Nice weekend?
similar.
Yeah.
Lots of food, lots of booze, lots of friends. Yeah, the bit I'm in control of, I'm not letting myself down.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think we've probably both had better weekends by the fact that neither of us actually went to Craven Cottage. Probably the first time I haven't been to Craven Cottage that Saints have been playing there for many, many years, you know. It's one of my favourite places to go and watch
Great
football.
stadium.
Yeah, good stadium. Basically, we tend to do quite well there, in my memory anyway.
Stadium might be overselling it a little bit,
Yeah.
but that's part of the charm, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
proper old
exactly.
school football ground.
And there's some nice pubs down there as well.
Lovely
And you get
pubs,
to walk
lovely
through
people.
the park, going there. Yeah.
Bishop's Avenue.
Yeah, and you normally go along and then you have that whole end, which is normally just full of Saints fans, you know, even the neutrals bit, totally packed. You have loads of fun, generally celebrate and chant, you know, Saints win and romp home to another win at the cottage.
Yeah, it's got that lovely sort of cricket pavilion sort of vibe about it. There's a lot to like about Craven Cottage.
Yeah. But I think our friends that did go to Craven Cottage this weekend, Tom, didn't have that experience that I'm used to getting there.
Who'd have thunk it?
No, well, you know, maybe this tells you why, you know, neither of us were actually there on Saturday. I did manage to follow the game. Did you, Tom?
Yeah, I did. Woburn Centre Park's a surprisingly good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there we go. So we can take you through absolutely everything that happened. Pick up over the bones and the corpse of Southampton Football Club as we go along. So, I mean, in case there's any Saints fans that listen to this, somehow know how to work a podcast, but don't, you know, look up the results. Obviously, everyone knows Fulham 3, Southampton 2, and you know, it's kind of like the same old story, but with like a few more goals this time, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
you know, basically,
nice goals.
Yeah, exactly. Saints take a lead. Ultimately, they throw it away, and we end up losing or drawing. So, I mean, that narrative has played out once again.
That's the narrative of 2018, isn't
Yeah,
it? Really?
Exactly. Except there were 5 goals, so we scored twice, which is nice. Like, you know, we don't do that too often. Last time we did that, I think it was at home to Brighton, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe only once. I think away to Palace we did that as well.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think, you know, let's start with a positive. So Armstrong's goal, very nice.
Both goals,
Yeah.
really nice.
So, I mean, let's start with the first one. Ball's kind of like bouncing around in the box. Armstrong kind of like goes in, chest sit, takes it away from a defender with his chest, and then just kind of like pokes it under the goalkeeper. It was quite Stephen Davis-esque, really, wasn't it? I mean, was it last season when we were there for the FA Cup and Stephen Davis got a goal, which was quite a scrappy goal?
It was actually Ward-Prowse.
Was it Ward-Prowse that got the
there?
goal?
Yeah, he sort of bounced off someone and James lashed it home. Yeah, it was quite similar actually. Almost like a sort of just taking advantage of a bit of lapsed defending.
Yeah. And, you know, Fulham have been known for pretty lapsed defending. We saw quite a lot of that on Saturday. Ranieri hasn't managed to sort that out yet, but, you know, it would be a real miracle worker to actually get that turned around so quickly. But yeah, I thought Armstrong looked good. The thing that I thought Armstrong did really well in this situation is so often when we get the ball in the opposition box, our players panic. They don't think about what they're doing.
Particularly midfielders. If you look at like Lamine, the amount of shots like Lamine or Lash wide. I mean, Højbjerg to a lesser extent, like Ward-Prowse, like he just Elianisi, the ball just gets lashed anywhere but at the goal.
Yeah. Whereas Armstrong, cool head, lovely bit of control, pokes the ball home. Then of course we have the Fulham fight back. So We have Mitrovic gets the first goal. It's quite a nice goal from Fulham again, wasn't it?
It's a lovely goal. It's a goal. If Man City score it, if Arsenal score it, it's total football. I think Fulham play with real pace. I think that's what surprised me. They just really quick on the ball, and they're really a lot of one-touch football. They've got a lot of really good quality footballers, and if you watch that goal, it's beautiful. Lots of one-touch, pass move, find space. Yeah, but I think we'll probably talk about Wesley shortly. But I think because he was kind of the central figure for Saints in this game, and not probably in the way you would hope to be. But like it features the defining image of Wesley Hoyt's Southampton career, which is Wesley sort of hearing the opposition fans cheering a goal and sort of turning around to look and seeing that one of the opposition forwards has had the audacity to score a header which he hasn't defended.
You can actually see kind of like Wesley Hoot, the movie, 2018. It would be that moment, you hear the crowd roar, and then actually the camera panning out, as he's kind of like looking there in disbelief, and then the credits could start to roll.
He almost has this like, I can't believe the temerity of these forwards to score goals. But it is, and that is the story of Hoyt's, 6'4", Wesley Hoyt's, Dutch international centre-back Wesley Hoyt's Southampton career. It's this kind of the look of disbelief that he has on his face as another centre forward has scored a header from reasonably close range against Alex McCarthy.
Yeah. Do we also think Cedric was a little bit to blame for this in the build-up as well? Yeah,
I don't think Cedric again didn't have a great. I think it's tricky with Cedric. I think they did move the ball at real pace. I think that's something Cedric has in spades, is pace. So I don't know if it was quite Cedric being to blame as much for this one, but again, it's another forward that peels off between two centre-backs. Our centre-backs are nowhere near them.
No.
And it's another free header.
Yeah.
It just drives you mad. If you're Alex McCarthy, you must be thinking, what's going on here? What? How are you doing this?
I mean, Alex McCarthy's just come back from making his debut for England, which is really great.
Playing behind like John Stones, like Carl Walker, like quality. Maybe less so Lewis Dunk or whoever the Brighton player was, but slightly less quality now back at Saints. It's clear.
So I mean, if I can't manage to pin the blame on Cedric for the first Fulham goal, I think I can for the second Fulham goal. So
he gets done, doesn't he?
Andre Schürrle comes in at the back post, Matty Target. I mean, kind of doing a bit of ball watching, sliding in, but really nowhere near Schürrle. Very, very simple finish for him. But that all came from a nice piece of work from Sessegnon down the wing. And Sessegnon, he was 18, 19 years old? I don't know what his age is.
He's 18, he's 18. A kid, yeah.
He's young, and he just makes Cedric look like such a fool.
He has him on toast.
Yeah, and like he just kind of goes past him so easily. And you have Gabbiadini, who's playing in this kind of like right wing role at the moment.
He has a great half-assed forward challenge where he sort of just goes, no, I'm done now.
I'm just going to kind of bump into you just so that it looks like I've done something.
My bit there.
But I mean, Cedric should be able to do better there, really.
You'd think so. I mean, Cedric has to stop the cross.
Yeah.
This is something, Saints concede a lot of goals, it seems to be, from crosses.
Let's just make it difficult for Sessegnon. It's just too easy.
Yeah, it's too easy, and then, it hits our other fullback target. It goes into the other target zone, yeah. And Target is like, again, like, oh my God, like, who is this man, Andre Schürrle, this German international footballer that has dared score quite a simple goal from 6 yards? And you do wonder what Saints are doing. I think we'll probably come to the defence. But
I mean, it's pretty astonishing. It's like none of them have ever played football before. They don't understand how like wingers might overlap, or that strikers might peel back to try and find that space that is not marked by a central defender. And where you have a more vulnerable right back or a left back waiting. Maybe
it's because they spend all week watching our forwards. So they spend all week watching Charlie Austin and think, that's obviously what forwards do. They don't kind of get near the ball. So if that's what Charlie does,
so they're not getting decent
fine.
Practice.
So they spend all week watching Charlie. Charlie couldn't get near a football if his life seemingly depended on it at the moment. And then they're just shocked when someone else plays the game slightly differently.
Yeah. So obviously we go into half-time 2-1 down, and you expect Mark Hughes is probably Well, I mean, I would expect Mark Hughes to be kind of saying, come on, guys, you got to buck your ideas up a bit here. Defence, you've got to concentrate. You've got to be aware of the, Schürrle and Sessegnon overlapping. You've got to be aware of Mitrovic being their main target for goals and their main source of goals. It just seems the same. But anyway, it did come out in the second half. I mean, although we're bemoaning the defence, once again, we look quite good going forward quite a lot.
I said Redmond was fantastic all game.
Yeah, he's creating lots and lots of chances. He's
clutching at straws for positivity, but Redmond, brilliant.
I think, Redmond, Armstrong and Lamina probably all had pretty good games, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And then Armstrong gets a second goal, which was a lovely, lovely finish.
And this thundered it.
And, this is one of the things that's so frustrating about Cedric, is like he was really instrumental in the build-up to Armstrong's second goal.
It's a beautiful layoff.
Lovely exchange with Gabbiadini, then the back heel layoff to Armstrong, who lashes it into the top corner from 18 yards out. It was a really nicely worked, beautiful goal, and it was befitting of a good Premier League team, that move.
Yeah, again, I think Armstrong must be thinking, what's going on here? Why am I now only getting a sniff when this team is in the doldrums? Why am I now only getting on this pitch? I mean, good thing is now he can't drop Armstrong.
No.
And, Armstrong genuinely looks to have a bit of quality that our other midfield options lack, certainly going forward. We've spoken before about Ward-Prowse. It just doesn't have that composure in front of goal. Armstrong seems to have that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, composure, I'd say, is the one thing that he seems to have in buckets that the rest of our team don't seem to have. That ability to concentrate and not just panic or get overexcited when the time counts.
But again, we've spoken about this before. I know that Mark Hughes doesn't necessarily sign the players, but Mark Hughes must have some, ability to say, yes, I want that player. No, I don't want that player. All right, he got an injury earlier in the season. Why has it taken Armstrong so long to get back in that team when the paucity of options we have in terms of a midfielder that actually provides a goal threat is so obvious?
Yeah, I just don't know the answer to that, Tom, because by all accounts, he played very well in pre-season. I went down to St Mary's for the first game of the season. He was definitely the brightest Saints player in that game against
He was the only one who he'd do something.
Yeah. And he just thought, right, really good signing. Very pleased about that. He's clearly going to be a big part of the team going forward. And I mean, he clearly does have a bit of an injury issue because he does seem to get injured towards the end of games. They were very, very quick to bring him off, weren't they? As soon as he got hit.
On Saturday, absolutely.
Against Fulham on Saturday. So maybe there's a little bit of a fragility and perhaps they don't want to have to rely on him too much. But, when you look at what he's doing on the pitch when he is on the side, it was just brilliant. He was kind of the beating heart of our kind of attacking play, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was at the heart of everything. And he does seem to have... It just seems to be quite a clever footballer. And I think we've spoken for a long time about Saints midfielders and how we're full of, in Championship Manager football terms, CMs.
Yeah.
Just generic centre midfielders. I think, Højbjerg, maybe is a more defensive slant. Lamina is not really the box-to-box midfielder we probably hoped he would be. So we do need someone who can step up and do something a bit different.
Someone who has an AMF.
Someone who's an AMF, or has, at least CM/AM in old Football Manager parlance. So, he looks like he's got something about him. Yeah. And he played brilliantly for Scotland in the week, so he has to play now against Man United.
Yeah, so obviously from 2-2, this is where Saints, push on. Armstrong gets his hat-trick. Obafemi comes on, gets another goal. And we
Fulham are there for the taking. We peg them back at their place. What happened, John?
Well, Wesley Hoot kind of wins the ball back down in the corner flag towards Saints. So at this point, he probably turns around and either hoofs it. Yeah, you could hoof it into the stand. If you want to be really clever, maybe pick out another Saints player. But at least you're going to, kind of really whack it up the line. He
probably hoofed it up the line, didn't he, to Redmond, who's playing on the left. So Redmond's pace, that's what he did, surely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've told myself in my head. Having just rewatched the highlights though, Tom, what does he do with it?
He kind of dawdles for a bit, thinks about what he's going to do, backs himself further into a corner, which is also quite an impressive thing to do, and then lays off a brilliant pass to the marauning Fulham right winger. So he just tees him up perfectly. And then not satisfied with that. And I'd urge Saints fans to watch it again, because it is almost like the most terrible defending you'll see a Premier League footballer do of that. You know, he's an international, played for Lazio. He must be pretty good. Like he not only then makes the mistake, but then he doesn't go like, right, I've made a mistake. They've got the ball. They're going to try and cross it in. I need to get back to my centre-back position. John, what does he do?
Yeah, well, I think at this point you have two options, don't you? You either chase the ball back,
You go and win
and go crazy. You even maybe get yourself a little yellow card just going to get the ball right. Oops, I've made a mistake, but I'm going to rectify it right now. Or you're right, you go back to your centre-back and you centre-back position. You realise that there's going to be a cross coming in.
You win that ball.
And you make sure you win that ball, you win that header. What you don't do is go and stand in a position where you're not attacking the ball, but also you're not far enough back into the box to actually have any sort of effect.
He kind of goes to this no man's land.
Yeah, I mean, there's no player there. There's no attacking
There's
threat
no
there.
attacking threat there. Like he's kind of, if anything, he's probably just making life more difficult, because he's just a distraction. It's such a weird thing to do of panic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He just goes and he just stands in this no man's land where it's highly unlikely the ball's going to end up there. Fulham work it well. They cross.
Yeah.
It's okay though, because it goes to Sessegnon, who I don't think he's very tall. I think Sessegnon's only about 5'8" or something, 5'9". And he's up against Yoshida, who's a Japanese international centre-back. Centre-back's big. So Yoshida must win the ball, John.
Yeah, of course. He just heads it straight out and we're away with a counter-attack.
But what actually really happens, John?
Well, Sessegnon somehow out-jumps Yoshida and manages to flick the ball on towards the back stick now.
Hang on, you're not telling me that Southampton's defenders have left Cedric with a large centre forward to deal with by himself?
Yeah, those are our tactics, Tom.
Oh dear.
But also, Cedric, not only has he got the big man, right, he, at this point, in absolute astonishment, is watching Yoshida being out-jumped by Ryan Sessegnon.
So he's facing the wrong way.
So he's now looking at that, just stopped in awe, watching that happen and unfold himself, and just totally forgotten that actually...
But Mitrovic must be also...
Mitrovic.
Is Mitrovic watching that?
Oh, yeah. Mitrovic is frozen like a statue. No, he isn't. He's actually moving to make some space. So to give Sessegnon a target to aim for.
And he does what?
Oh, well, Sessegnon flicks it on beautifully to Mitrovic, and Mitrovic just has to whack it into the goal. It was very simple.
And there is Saints 2018. Like, if you want to encapsulate Southampton's 2018, I mean, like, in one thing, it's everything we've been bad at. You know, the initial mistake, the not making up for it, the bad positioning, the leaving it to Cedric with the big man. It encapsulates everything bad about Southampton Football Club. And I think, we'll come to Mark Hughes, but, Mark, if you're listening, like, what's going on? Like, how are these players doing this?
But also, what do you do in coaching, in training all week?
Yeah. But this is the argument. I mean, and I think, obviously we'll come to Hughes. Yeah. We can't not come to Hughes, but, well, I won't say it, but I think there's, part of me feels sorry for him.
Yeah, but I mean, Tom, right, so let's look at this, okay? Alex McCarthy, he's now an England international, by all accounts. He seems to be, Southgate's second or third choice. For
he's in that squad now.
So he's in that squad. So you've got England international goalkeeper. You've got England international under-21s goalkeeper waiting in the wings. And you have, in no man's land, once England's best goalkeeper from, a couple of years ago.
He's now picking up, 90 grand a week from a club like Southampton.
Yeah.
To not even play any form of football. So
you've got three really good options there. So fine, goalkeeper, fine. I think Alex McCarthy's doing a great job, so not really a problem there.
I don't think anyone... I think we'll criticise a lot on this podcast. I don't think any of us have really criticised Alex McCarthy.
Left-back position, you have former England international Ryan Bertrand, who many people think he should still be in the England squad.
Yep.
And you have Matty Targett, who's a fantastic understudy. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Then from your centre-backs, you have a Japanese international. You have a Polish international who scored and got a burn in the match.
Both of those played at the last World Cup.
Yeah, you've got a
Dutch international.
You've got
England former under-21 and Jack Stevens.
Yeah, and you have a Danish international
as well, who I think went to the World Cup but didn't play, but is an established Danish international.
But also got kind of, I think, defender of the season.
Well,
in the
certainly, I think
Bundesliga
last year in
season?
Bundesliga had most clearances with head, most clear, most shots blocked, which are two things. By God, we need.
Yeah. So you've got five central defender positions there, 4 of whom are seasoned internationals, and then on your right back you have the position which is covered by someone who won the European Championships with Portugal.
Yeah, and is obviously a highly talented, super fit, motivated professional
again,
footballer.
international. Like, how can this group of players not defend the effing ball? And why do we concede so many goals where the defence is just absolutely laughable? I just don't get it, Tom. What happens in training? How can we make all of these top quality international defenders play so badly week in, week out, and constantly concede these ridiculous goals?
The same goals. And it's funny, and this isn't Saints, I was watching, I watched the highlights of the Man City game on Saturday, and I was talking to my friend who's a Liverpool fan, and I said, it's amazing. If you look at how many goals Man City score where the ball is laid on a plate, you know, where I think they scored one on Saturday, like, you know, where someone like can't miss.
Yeah,
that's their like modus operandi.
Yeah,
Saints' modus operandi is like the opposite. It's the terrible defending. That's like what we are known for, and it's baffling. And again, like we spoke earlier about Hoyt, that thing of Hoyt sort of turning around to look at like, oh my God, like someone has scored. The net is bulging again. What's going on? But like, are we even meant to be playing 4-4-2? Is Cedric a fullback that plays in a 4-4-2 formation? I don't think he is. Like, why did we play 5-2-2 all pre-season? Why have we got 5 good centre-back options when only 2 of them can possibly play? Why did we sign someone for £15 million to play centre-back who can't get off the bench? I can understand if you can get off the bench. We were consistently, in American terms, getting shutouts, but we're not. So, like, what's going on?
It's just so weird. Right, so Phil Cook has got a bit of a theory here. Okay, so Phil Cook says, "Hi guys, been listening a while. This is my first time I've commented. I was thinking about the discussion you had around Mark Hughes and why he was dropping players for no apparent reason. Jack Stevens was mentioned, and then Gabby coming in and out, etc. And he says, I think Hughes is trying to make a deeper statement about the players he has and the influence in the transfers. By playing all of the players, he can legitimately go to the board and say the team isn't strong enough. Everyone has been given a chance and they simply don't cut it. Hence the chopping and changing across the team. No settled central defence pairing and the same up top also. If he played a settled team, they would arguably get a bit better. But he is desperate for results, and also there is clearly an issue with transfers and his view of the quality of the squad. By playing all of the players, he removes the argument that he hasn't given them all a chance. It's a dangerous and political game for him to do, but I'm starting to think he is that sort of person. Nothing is his fault, so he is proving a point but not helping to actually coach a squad. Keen to get your thoughts from Phil."
I'd agree with that. I mean, Mark Hughes, we spoke about this, I think, last time round, where he appears to be completely the inability to absorb any blame.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the sort of iron self-belief that made him such a brilliant footballer. You know, the sort of unswerving self-belief that he has. But he does absolutely seem to be impervious to sort of saying, you know what, like, yeah, we got that wrong.
Yeah.
It's the player's fault. It's the referee's fault. It's someone else's fault. At no point does Mark Hughes say, like, maybe, you know, I'm playing players that aren't quite right, aren't mentally right for that team. Yeah. But then at the same time, Mark Hughes is, you know, going to a casino and losing loads of money to prove a point is one way of doing life, but it only works if you have an unlimited supply of money.
Yeah.
And Mark Hughes does not have an unlimited supply of time. And that's what's going to be the end of Mark Hughes. So Mark Hughes might prove his point, but he won't be around when it's proven because he's going to be out of a job. So it just seems bizarre. And also, Mark Hughes is not like a long-term option that Saints have invested in, like if they'd managed to get
they
like
did
an
give
Emery.
him a 3-year
contract. God knows why, but like, you know, so he's not even going to be around. They're not going to change their entire policy, the way of doing things for Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes will go before they change.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting theory from Phil, and I'd like to think that it's be totally impossible that a professional Premier League manager would do that, but I think he might be onto something. The way that he does kind of change the players, and also that he has binned so many of our transfers, and the fact that he has also made noises in the press that he wants to be more involved in the selections of the transfers. But the way it's going, he's not going to be here in January anyway to have any influence on the transfer policy. And maybe he'll, after he's been sacked, he'll turn around and say, well, actually, the reason I got sacked is because the players weren't good enough and blah, blah, blah. They didn't give me the right...
But the players... I'm sorry, by any metric, right?
Yeah.
These players are good enough.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, I know that, there's a lot of international games now, you shouldn't put too much sway, but these players are good enough because at various different times... These are all players that have done it either for Southampton in the Premier League or for other clubs in top leagues.
Yeah.
So Lemina played for Juventus.
Yeah.
Højbjerg played for Bayern Munich. Gabbiadini is an Italian international footballer.
Yeah.
Like Redmond does it for Saints. Redmond and Højbjerg are probably the only two coming out with any credit so far this season.
And McCarthy, I suppose.
And McCarthy as well. Like Vestergaard was by most yardsticks one of the best defenders in the Bundesliga. Like, I can understand it. If you're Cardiff, right, and you come up, and Cardiff are essentially playing, apart from one or two other players, the same team that came up in the Championship.
Yeah, they're playing in the Premier League with the Championship team.
Yeah, then you get, and they go down.
Our squad isn't comparable to Cardiff.
And they go down and they say, you know what, we gave it a really good go, but like the players ultimately weren't right for that league.
Yeah.
Then everyone goes, you know what, fair play, you gave it everything.
Yeah.
Like Mark Hughes can't turn around and say that.
No.
Like, his job is to get those players motivated. And he appears to be unable to do that.
Look at Wagner at Huddersfield. He's got a group of players there which are not, they're not...
They're not as good as the Saints. On paper, they're not as good as the Saints.
Yeah.
And what have they just done this afternoon, John?
Well, they've only gone and got a 2-0 victory at Wolverhampton Wanderers.
What happened to Saints there?
That's where we lost 2-0.
Yeah, so like it's. I mean, you could argue that that Wolves are are actually in a bit of a slump at the moment, but it doesn't matter. Like, there's no evidence to suggest Mark Hughes can turn this round.
No.
And Mark Hughes, I think now has won 3 games of the 20 he's played. We are without winning 9.
Yeah.
We are in a slump by any metric.
We're in a terrible slump, and at this point, we're going to take a break to eat our takeaway.
We need it.
Right, so we've just finished our Thai takeaway, Tom.
It was very good.
Yeah, it was delicious, wasn't
Very
it?
spicy, those Thais.
Yeah, it's good though. I think, spicy takeaway on a Sunday evening. I mean, we're recording on a Sunday, normally Monday.
Yes.
It's quite good to kind of sweat out some of the sins of the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all any of us can really hope for.
So, I mean, thank you very much. I think it was Phil via email. Excuse me. I've got another email, this time from Josh Whalen, and he's written in from Australia. Now, I've got to say, Josh's email is too long for me to read the whole thing
lengthy.
out. Yeah, I mean, Jason Dickey has a reputation on our podcast for being the person who writes the longest emails. Josh has blown Jason out of the water. I haven't done a word count on it, but we're nearing kind of dissertation type length. So I've had a look, and I think probably the bit that I want to talk about. So I've picked out a part of Josh's email. So he goes, this is after several paragraphs of other kind of like topics that we've talked about the team and a few others that we haven't as well. But it says, now our squad that we have is actually pretty good. They just need a manager who is tactically great, good at developing young players, playing attacking football, high pressing, fast paced football. Now the managers I target to take over are Roger Schmidt, Ralph Hasenhüttl, I don't know how to pronounce that, Brendan Rodgers, Leonardo Jardim, Marcelo Bielsa, Radi Jaidi, who I think would be a risk, but at least he plays the philosophy of the club and knows the young guys well. And lastly, Patrick Vieira. So that's his short list.
Vieira, where's Vieira at the moment? Is he in New York?
Is he in New York? I know he went for the Arsenal job and actually got through to the final round of interviews.
I know he was in New York at the Man City project in New York.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've mentioned Bielsa quite a few times. Leonardo Jardim, I think we've spoken about on the podcast before.
Yeah, they're talking about him going to China, aren't they now?
Yeah. I know it seems like a waste of time.
Going to China?
Well, I know obviously it's not a waste of time for your bank account.
No, all those renminbi. Yeah. It's quite a lot of them.
Roger Schmidt and Ralph Hasenhüttl, I actually don't know too much about those two, so I can't really comment.
I've read about Schmidt.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And Brendan Rodgers as well.
He's an interesting one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because of that list, who's the one who would do it? You'd think Brendan Rodgers could take the job.
Yeah.
Celtic, flying in Scotland, but as always, he's kind of. You think he's maybe coming to the end of his time there because he's done everything else to be done?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of had a bit of a perfect season last season, and this season it's not going quite as well. That there maybe is a temptation for another challenge. And, he did very well as Swansea manager as well, Brendan Rodgers. It wasn't just that kind of like Liverpool magic moment of having Luis Suarez being the best player in the world.
And the thing as well, one thing I would like about Rodgers, I feel he has a point to prove.
Yeah.
Probably has some unfinished business for the Premier League.
Yeah, I know William Portis, Pirate, he's a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. Yeah.
He likes swearing and Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah. Radi Jaidi, promoting him up from the youth team. That's a big risk, isn't it?
I saw someone say that it could be Kelvin Davis. I mean,
that is an even bigger risk.
That's an even bigger risk, yeah.
Yeah. So some interesting shouts there. He says for director of football, he would target Ralph Ragnick, but don't think he would leave. He would also target Paul Mitchell, who we've talked about. And there are some rumours circulating that he was going to be appointed by the club, but nothing has happened as of yet. He'd also change up our coaching staff, get some top quality coaches in who have a history developing players, developing the youth. I know the club doesn't like to spend money and wants to be self-sufficient, which I'm happy with, but you really need to spend some money on your manager, your assistant manager and coaches. You need to spend money on your chief scout and director of football. So if you spend money on those areas, you get really good quality, then you don't need to spend money in the transfer market because the manager will get the best out of the players, will be using great tactics, have a great footballing system. We can go back to buying little gems that no one has heard of and turn them into diamonds, and we can bring the youth through to the first team like we used to. Which all sounds fantastic. And he also points out that on the Southampton website, their vision says it wants 50% of the academy players making up the first team, and we don't even have one in there at the moment. It goes on to...
It's still on there, is it? It's interesting.
Yeah, and it says, it's a disgrace, it's pathetic, it really is. Mark Hughes is pathetic, always whinging and blaming everyone else except for himself for his poor tactics, his poor first team choices, poor management, and it's bloody pathetic. So there's a lot there that... I mean, we've talked about quite a lot of this before, and I'm quite with Josh on most of this.
Yeah, I think the challenge is changing all the backroom and the director of football. These are long-term.
Yeah.
These are long-term bets, aren't they? These are things that come in, and you'd imagine would take maybe 5 years to really filter through, 3 to 5 years maybe to filter through to the first team. We have an immediate problem.
Yeah.
We have an immediate, iceberg dead ahead problem.
Yeah.
And we can tinker in the background. We can get a new director of football.
Yeah.
The idea that all of a sudden Wesley Hoyt is not going to make another stupid error, or Cedric is going to tackle back properly, or Charlie Austin is going to get near the ball. None of those things are going to happen because we appoint a new director of football.
No. But they could all change with a new first team coach.
With a new first team manager.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the problem with Saints is we saw this with Fraser Forster. What happens when professional athletes lose their way and then realise that it doesn't matter if they lost their way because they're undroppable?
Yeah.
And
do you think Cedric's like that at the moment?
Well, if you think who's going to come in, is he really going to play target? Is he really going to drop the European Cup winning right back? Probably not to play a left back at right back. But maybe what would be interesting is we play Leicester on Tuesday night. You're going to see Jan Valery maybe given a chance.
Well, hopefully, and actually that's who Josh has suggested who he would have. If he was manager, he'd be playing the 4-2-3-1 formation with high tempo, high urgent press, retaining possession, getting the ball into the box from the wings as quickly as possible. Not surprisingly, he's dropped Austin, he's dropped Cedric, he's dropped Bertrand. And he has Valery, Vestergaard, Yoshida, Target across the back, Lamina, James Ward-Prowse in the centre of midfield, left wing Redmond, attacking midfield Højbjerg, right wing Gabbiadini, and striker Ings.
Yeah, it's an interesting team.
I would perhaps drop James Ward-Prowse from that if I was Josh's assistant manager.
What would you be telling Josh?
I'd tell him to drop Højbjerg back into the centre of mid with Lamina.
I agree.
get James Ward-Prowse on the bench, maybe bring him in if you know that you've got a team that's frail from set pieces and use him for that. And I'd have Armstrong in there after that performance against Fulham.
Absolutely agree with you, John. I just think Armstrong gives you so much more than Ward-Prowse, and we don't actually seem particularly adept at scoring from set pieces.
No.
Scoring from set pieces seems to be something sort of going out of fashion a little bit. So I think the James Ward-Prowse point is a bit of a moot one.
Yeah,
because we don't really seem to score like many crashing headers, you know, from corners and free kicks. I'm struggling to think of the last time we did.
It's funny. I think Wesley Hoot, despite the lack of his defensive headings, he did have that chance, didn't he, in the second half?
He manages to find space and then find the air header.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing defensive header, that one.
Exactly. You just need to again doing it at the right end.
In an attack. So thank you very much, Josh, for your email. Really very interesting. So thanks. If you want to write in like Josh or Phil, you can do so at saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com. I've got two more. These ones are both a little bit shorter. Matt Deverill says, "Hi chaps, just a quick food for thought. Why is no one talking about the failures this season and last defensively from right back? How many goals have been scored from either Cedric's failure to clear from his shortcomings? Why does he seem to be a player who picks up their tallest player? Why can't he head away and only up? And where has his attacking threat gone?" I think we have probably given...
Yeah, Cedric's got a lot of grief.
Yeah, I think we've thrown enough pelters at Cedric. But
let's, in defence of Cedric, he often, and we've said this loads, the ball shouldn't be left with a 6'2" centre forward, and that is the failure of our centre backs to
it's a failure
adequately
as well. Though,
yeah. Yeah, I do think it's easy. It's going to be easy to look at and look and see Cedric getting destroyed by some monster forward and go, Cedric, but Cedric shouldn't be forced to be trying to win those challenges.
No, and you'd almost hope someone maybe like Lamina would be dropping back in there, or Højbjerg might be dropping back in there to take that position. Because it's not unusual for a right back to come in and cover as the play goes out towards. If the play is coming from the opposition's right wing, then obviously all the players kind of generally shift across the pitch towards the play, and therefore your right back comes in and fills that position. But if the right back is not capable of doing that, as Cedric has demonstrated time and time and time again, then you have someone else that fulfills that role.
I mean, I've not no stats to prove this up, but we seem to concede a hell of a lot of goals from crosses.
Yeah,
it just seems to be. We just seem to not be able to defend crosses.
Maybe we need to get Duncan Alexander on that again.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and that leads nicely into another email from Thomas Ketchell. Hi, John and Tom. Just writing a short note to say congratulations on reaching 50 episodes. Thank you, Thomas, of the Saints podcast, and thanks for continuing to publish episodes. Love listening to the Klaus and Duncan Alexander was great on the pod last year. Hope you can wheel him in again soon.
Love to, yeah.
You'll have to see if we can coax him over again. I'm English/French and have been a Saints fan all my life. Dad's from the area and I try my best to get over to the UK to see Saints game every year. I've been a long time listener who was based in the US last year, but I've just moved to Finland. Do let me know or put a shout out if there are any Saints fans in Finland looking to watch games together. Keep up the good work. Right, so if you're a Saints Finnish supporter,
we've got that list, haven't we, of people from all over the world, so maybe check that out.
Yeah, but we don't know who those people are.
That's true.
But yeah, so if you're a Saints fan and you're in Finland and you fancy hooking up with Thomas Ketchell to watch a game, he's keen. I've got his email. I'll make the magic happen in the world of email. saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com.
The matchmaker you are, John.
Yeah. We've got a few tweets in as well, so I'm just going to go straight. Let's keep all this. Let's keep the social media vibes. Yeah,
other people write for us. It's amazing.
I know. Ben Sharman, he's been chatting to us on Twitter for a fair while now. I think it's been quite a long time follower of the podcast. Mark Hughes' win ratio, Saints FC manager, is just 22%. The numbers do not lie, and there cannot be any excuses. The last home win was in April. Hashtag Mark Hughes out. He also had another one. Why Mark Hughes continues to play Wesley Hoot at centre-back is a mystery. I think without major changes to the management, Southampton FC will be relegated. Ben's 2 points there.
I agree. I think Hoyt is a mystery. Because it's weird, because Hoyt continues to play. And it's probably about the only part of the club where we're actually blessed with lots of competition. But he seems to be, again, how many combinations of the back four have we had how many combinations of centre back have we had? We obviously, Target had to play this weekend because Bertrand was suspended, but it just is. It's baffling as to Hoyt's continued position in this team.
It does seem strange. I mean, I know. Was it Jason Dickey was saying about the ceiling? So maybe Hoyt's got more potential than some of these other players. But Jan Bednarek has been fantastic. Every time he's put on a Saints shirt, he's looked really, really good. He looked fantastic for Poland in the World Cup.
Vestergaard didn't look that bad, did he?
No. I mean, he looked quite slow, but then Jan Bednarek is quite quick and
it's just so weird. Hoyt is Hoyt. You always get a feeling Hoyt needs to be taken out of the team for his own good.
Yeah, before he makes any more mistakes. Dan Fox as well. He likes to tweet us every now and then. He actually wants just to say thank you, well paid today to Nathan Redmond, Mario Lemina and Stuart Armstrong. You boys played a fantastic game and deserved much more. Keep up the fight. You've got to say, actually, how does Charlie Austin look Nathan Redmond in the face?
There was a bit in the game on Saturday where someone overhit a pass, I think, to Redmond, and Redmond turned around and went mad.
Really?
Yeah, he kind of he was really gesticulating, really shouting. And I think Redmond does have a bit of a reputation for maybe going off at his own players.
Yeah.
But he's the only one I would say with Højbjerg and maybe Lemina and Armstrong that comes out of Saturday with any credit. He is tireless, and I think the sad thing is that we're making Redmond look bad.
Yeah.
And if Redmond was playing in a team of with good forwards, Redmond would probably have half dozen assists and would probably be knocking on the door of the England team.
It's true. I mean, it's astonishing that he hasn't had more assists, Redmond, because he's been so.
Our forwards can't score goals. If he doesn't get assists
because basically the attackers are not finishing.
You look at that. Late in the game on Saturday, he crosses the ball back, and I think it's Gabby kind of just falls over as he goes to strike it.
Yeah.
What can Redmond do about
that? Chris O'Donnell says, "Cannot believe we're in November talking about 6 pointers." This one's from before the game. This is say that the board has put us in this position, continue to hide and say nothing. Hughes was a poor appointment last year, remains a poor appointment this year. He brings, except we are worse than last year. Kind of. You know what I find confusing about Mark Hughes' Saints?
Go on.
Is in some ways, I think we're better than this point last year under Pellegrino.
Better than Pellegrino Saints.
Yeah.
The football's better.
Yeah, the football's more pleasing on the eye, but the results are worse.
Yeah, and Pellegrino, we did score some goals.
Not many,
but there was a few games we won. We scored 3.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't we only score 4 against Everton? And that was the only game that we scored.
Yeah,
more
we
than
scored
2
3 against West Ham. Scored 3 a few times.
That was very, very. That was like the first game of the season.
Yeah, second game of the season. But I don't know. It feels the club is in a. Mark Hughes, I think, is a. We've spoken about this before. The club has lost its way.
Yeah.
No matter by any metric, the club has lost its way, and Mark Hughes Mark Hughes' appointment is just symptomatic of that, isn't it? It's a backwards appointment, and I know I said he should get the job. I absolutely was wrong. So I'm not pretending I had perfect knowledge. I'm well in the wrong on this one. You raised a point earlier. He's got a 3-year contract. Managers don't get given 3-year contracts now. So if we're going to fire Mark Hughes, we're going to have to pay him 2 years and whatever, 2.5 years salary.
Of his contract, yeah.
So that's going to cost, say he's on 60 grand a week, 3 million a year. It's going to cost the club over £6 million to get rid of him. And why did we give Mark Hughes a 3-year contract? Why is he on a 2-year contract?
Yeah.
It's weird. The club makes really weird decisions.
You're going to say, Hughes' agent has played a binder there, hasn't he?
Yeah. Hughes wasn't probably going to walk into any other Premier League job.
And the funny thing was, as well, is the way they organised his contract. They didn't give him a long contract last season. They gave him a contract to the end of the season with £1 million bonus if he kept Saints up. And they could have got to the end of that and just said, right, thanks, all's done, everyone's happy. He walks away, his reputation has been improved.
Yep, no one remembers Stoke, everyone just remembers keeping Saints up. Well
exactly.
done, Mark.
He has £1 million in his pocket, and then Saints can go on and get another manager who perhaps matches their
more
philosophy.
young, dynamic, new world manager.
Yeah. Strange goings on.
Yeah, but isn't this like some like a bad decision making at the club, like Carrillo?
Yeah,
bad. Yeah, signing the guy the guy that Pellegrino wanted, eventually signing him, firing Pellegrino a couple of weeks later.
Yeah,
you know, like what's going on?
I mean, they must have known that they were going to have to end up sacking Pellegrino at that. Like,
yeah,
it just.
But the weird thing is as well is you know, we spoke. I think someone in one of the tweets mentioned Mark Hughes' win ratio is 22%. Yeah, he's won 3 of 30 games.
I don't think it's quite as many as 30.
Is it 3 and 19 maybe? No, you know, it's a terrible rate. Yeah. All the numbers are awful.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the malaise goes back before Hughes. This is not you know, we weren't good and then Mark Hughes has made us crap. We were bad and Mark Hughes has made us worse. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know whether, you know, I don't think it is a root and branch removal of everyone at the club apart from him. It has to be a complete change. But the problem is, you know, unless we go down, you know, are we going to have a complete change, or are they just going to very happily sit there taking the money?
Well, there's no money to take if a club gets relegated. So if you're operating as a club in the Championship, you lose money. You don't make money in the Championship.
And by all accounts, Gow is not. I mean, Gow is clearly a wealthy man.
Yeah,
he's not a John Henry, or he's not a Sheikh Mansour, or an Abramovich. He's someone who's managed to get together the money to buy 90% of a Premier League football club.
80%, I think it is.
It's 80, yeah.
But he's a businessman as well, and he's running it as a business. But the business is going to fail if we get relegated. Something's going to happen. My concern after Saturday's game, I think, you know, I think relegation is a very real possibility, because I think the only thing that was giving us any succor that Saints might stay up was how bad other teams are. Fulham looked pretty good on Saturday. They played good football, and with Mitrovic, they've got someone who's going to score goals. Yeah, which, looking at our forward line, Danny Ings apart, you know, Danny Ings injured. So Danny Ings, we had 2 weeks international break. Danny Ings is still injured. I think Obafemi's got to get the nod. You know, if you look at the game against Fulham, okay, he missed a couple of really good opportunities to score, but you can't ignore the fact that he wasn't on the pitch for very long, and 3 or 4 opportunities came his way. If someone is causing that much trouble and getting opportunities, you know, you got to give him the spot in the team. And Charlie Austin doesn't deserve it. No, I don't like criticising players who I feel try. I don't feel that Charlie Austin is trying. No, I can't believe he is, because if he is, and that's the level of impact he's having, then there's a problem. Yeah, in terms of his fitness that a professional athlete shouldn't have. Yeah, he's just. I can't remember a player for Saints that has so little impact on a game as Charlie Austin is having right now. Yeah, it's bizarre. Come on, let's look forward. Right, let's go. Tuesday Optimism. Night, Leicester City away, EFL Cup. Man City away is the winner. Oh God. Yeah. Man City away. Yeah. I hope that we play some young players, give some players a chance, and they do a good job. I don't really care about the result, because I don't think we could possibly get past Man City in the next round. It would take some sort of weird footballing miracle, which I don't think we're capable of at the moment. And also, all that's going to happen is they're going to destroy us, you know, and ship half a dozen goals against us, and that's going to do our confidence even worse. Yeah. So there's an argument for losing against Leicester. The other argument for losing against Leicester is it could push Hughes closer to the brink. Yeah. I think probably what's more likely, though, is that next weekend we have Manchester United coming to St Mary's, and then a few days later, Spurs at Wembley on the Wednesday. I think that'll be the end of Hughes. That double header. Yeah. Particularly if we lose heavily at home to Man United. But the games are coming in thick and fast now, aren't they? Because, you know, you've got Man United and Spurs, which will be within a few days of each other. I watched Spurs yesterday. They were awesome. So, actually, for the next few weeks, you've got, 2 games a week. And also, the challenge we have is that we genuinely don't look like we can beat anyone.
We don't look capable like we're winning this 6 points. If you look at the games we've got coming up, here we go away at Cardiff on the 8th of December. Let's say it again. It's a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
So is Newcastle.
Yeah.
So is Watford wasn't a 6-pointer, but it was for us.
Yeah.
Fulham.
I think that's a 3-pointer.
It's a 3-pointer. Yeah. But Fulham is a 6-pointer. Like,
yeah.
We don't look like we're gonna win these games.
No. And I'm expecting we'll probably, if Hughes hasn't been sacked by the time we've finished recording this podcast, Tom, I expect it's going to come after a horrific drubbing at Wembley at the hands of Tottenham Hotspur.
Which did for Pellegrino.
Was that the one that you got sacked
Oh no,
after?
that was the end of
Boxing Day,
wasn't it? Forster. That was the end of Forster.
Oh, that was the end of Forster.
But also was sort of felt like the time they should have got rid of Pellegrino.
Hopefully they've learned their lesson.
Yeah.
And then, so hopefully we'll have Marcelo Bielsa in to take over for the away trip to Cardiff City.
Even Leeds are what, second, third in the Championship. Like, these people, they hedge their bets. Like, would you rather be at a resurgent Leeds, where you're building something, or go to Saints? I think we'll end up with it'll end up like Gary Monk. No, I don't think Big Sam, because I think they're too cheap. I think they'll get like Gary Monk in. Yeah. Ex-player. Yeah, to be fair, his Swansea did play good football for what they could do.
I don't think Gary Monk would be necessarily a bad appointment.
It can't be any worse than Hughes. Yeah. I mean, if you look Mark Hughes' win ratio, we are going down. Yeah. There is we can talk about how the squad's too good. We could talk about how there are probably worse clubs in the Premier League. If we really cut aside all of the emotion and all the sort of football fuzz, if you really get down to brass tacks, we are going down. As it stands.
Well, we're in the relegation zone.
Yeah, we're in the relegation zone. We have nothing that suggests we can beat teams. Yeah, we beat a poor Palace team without their talisman, without Zaha. Yeah. That's it. And that's it. There's nothing to suggest that we can beat Cardiff away. We might draw. Yeah. But there's certainly nothing to suggest. And also the way the Premier League balance is tilted now. Clubs like Saints aren't getting points off clubs like Man United anymore. No. Not so much. Spurs, Man City's, Liverpool's.
Palace did.
Palace got a draw. But Saints are now in a position where draws aren't enough. No. We need to win games.
And it's not happening with Mark Hughes, so it's time to go, isn't it?
Well, look, you've got two options. You either change all the players or you change the manager, and you can't change all the players.
No, not until January anyway.
No.
Anyway, on that note, thank you very much for listening in to another bright and cheery episode of the Saints FC podcast. If you want to get in contact, saintsfcpodcast@gmail.com or at saintsfcpodcast on Twitter. I hope you have a lovely week. If you're travelling up to Leicester on Tuesday, good luck. Cheer the boys.
Is Maddison suspended for that? I think he is, isn't he? He got sent off.
Was that for diving?
Yeah. Idiot.
And then, Saturday, Manchester United at St Mary's. There's a prospect on.
Not for us, I don't think.
All right, anyway, have a good week, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.